This podcast is powered by The Plug.
Hi. A lot has happened since I last recorded, so I'm especially excited to be here today and to talk with you all surrounding some changes in my life. I recently started graduate school. I am in a program for marriage and family therapy. We, as the community within this milieu, are working towards changing the language toward couples and family therapy, with the acknowledgement that not everyone chooses to get married, and that therapy has a role for everyone, and in everyone's lives, I believe. But until it's changed formally, the title I will receive upon graduation and taking the licensure exam, the acronym will be MFT, for Marriage Family Therapist. So I started that back in January, and it has been a whirlwind of an experience. I'm on my third semester now. I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I really think my brother put it best. I was complaining about how exhausted I was and just expressing this overwhelm and not getting it. And I was hosting events and I was teaching dance and yoga classes. And I was running my business online in terms of creating content both for myself and for others. I had various clients, and I was so consumed. I didn't even have time to walk the dog to the length that I wanted. Nonetheless, self-care. So a lot of things were getting neglected. And he said, well, what did you think you were going to do? Just Kim Kardashian your way through that? And I think that was definitely how I thought I was going to do it. The difference between Kim Kardashian and myself is that Kim Kardashian has a staff. I do not. So learning the power in domestic tasks and practicing pleasure with them, and instead of seeing them as a chore, something I have to do, seeing them as something that I do in order to create a life of peace for myself, was very transformative. And not to say that I have mastered this skill by any means, but I do feel that mind frame switch was helpful for me. And so it's my third semester now, and I think I'm getting a hold of things. But with that also came the recognition. I was hosting smoke and stretches every 2 weeks, so every other week. And then I was also teaching Wednesday weekly yoga at City Park over the summer, and I'm just starting to get burnt out. So there will not be a smoke and stretch in September. However, I am taking a dance gig. I haven't been dancing lately. I went and visited my grandfather on my mom's side, and even in his current state, which is very much towards the end of his life, he was asking me how I was, and one of the first questions was, are you still dancing? And sometimes I think it's easy for us to forget the way that people see us, and not that their perception is that important, but that in his mind, I am a dancer. Like, that has been me since a child, but for whatever reason, I tend to forget this. And so throughout my life, I've had these consistent patterns of me being involved in dance and then stepping back, and this rediscovery. And I'm getting a little sick of my own shit, if I'm being honest. So I realize now that as I work towards cultivating a balanced life, that life must include all of the things that are valuable to me, and must prioritize a connection to all of the different areas of stimuli that are necessary for my success and my pleasure in this life, right? I love having conversations. I love discourse. I love community. I love studying. I love academia with the many flaws that it has. I do enjoy this graduate program a lot. So like that checks my mind box, right? And I also love yoga and I love spirituality and I love teaching. So when I teach or I host events, that checks that box for me. But I also am a performer and I love to be artistic and I love to express without words sometimes. As a really talky person, I'm realizing that part of the thing that I love about dance is it's so expressive and yet nothing leaves my lips. So I am now prioritizing doing a gig with my teacher, my mentor, Luciana da Silva, a Brazilian woman who has taught me so much of what I know about samba and about the African traditions and the roots of that dance. And so I feel really happy, and I'm in a new relationship, which is a whole other discussion. I found out I'm a freaking lesbian. That's crazy to figure out at 25 years old. And that's been an incredible journey, a very feminist journey, a very honest and challenging journey, as it has required me to look at the scripts, the societal scripts, the heteronormative, cisgendered white scripts that I was playing into with gender roles and relationships, and has really challenged me to sit with that shadow side. And what has been doubly beautiful on top of that is the way that it has created space by getting those old beliefs out. It just created space for more pleasure, for more connection, for more beauty, for more curiosity, for more support, for more space to feel seen and have deep, emotionally intimate conversations and connections, not only with my romantic partner, but with friends in my circle, and with other queer folks. It's just so silly because like in college, I was always interested in QSA, like Queer Student Alliance, and I was on the board of the Latinx Student Alliance, and I was really doing my best to find my identity, and I liked it in LSA, and I always felt like there was a little something missing, but I didn't feel gay enough to attend QSA, or maybe there was a fear that I would have to acknowledge something that I felt, so there was an avoidance of that. I don't know. It's been very interesting to be a hyper femme individual. Like I am a performer. I love fashion. I am a dancer. I love lipstick and hair extensions and eyelash extensions and high heels and lingerie and femininity and waist beads and menstruating. Like I am a girl's girl. And I didn't know that one could be a girl's girl or be hyper feminine and also love women. However, it makes total sense, right? If those are all the things I love and I love femininity, why wouldn't I love women? So this has been a really cool journey for me. And I'm so grateful to my partner who has been so patient and kind and endlessly loving and supportive through this journey, given she came out at a very young age and knew from a very young age. So we have very different experiences in that. So my experience has been a lot of unlearning. And honestly, I'm really grateful that I didn't have to endure things like high school years with everything that I had going on in my life. And then if I knew I was lesbian on top of that, I think that would have been a lot. And I know I have a very privileged coming out experience because of that. I'm older. I don't really give a shit what people think about me. I have a podcast, so that ship has sailed, right? And my family was lovely about it. I think my mom definitely thought it was a phase. She's still working through that, but endlessly loving regardless. My siblings were fine, very sweet. My dad was like, gave me the whole "I'll still love you" speech. It was very funny, very supportive. So this is a new journey and I'm excited to talk about it, and I'm excited to dive into some topics with some guests. I think I want to have more conversations here with you all, and I wanted to do a little introduction. So this past week was really fun because I had both my best friend and my girlfriend staying with me for 5 days. It was the Labor Day weekend, so we all had Monday off. And they both came over after we did our full moon yoga on Wednesday night at City Park. Again, still hosting that until the cold kicks us out the park. So Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Would love to see you there. If you're in Denver, Colorado. And so the girls came over after yoga, and then we spent all week with one another. We were all stuffed in my bed with the dog. It was hilarious. And it was so fun. I was bleeding because of the full moon, so was my girlfriend. So we were just really in this like women, like matriarchal. It felt like a mix of the witchiest, like witch red tent energy you can think of, divine feminine, dark feminine, and also Barbie land in my house for these days. And so honestly, we had a blast. There was just lots of food and lots of crying, lots of marijuana smoking. Thank you, Eureka, for always supporting me. Lots of movie watching. We made a fort. We did make a fort, and that felt very red tent to have bleeding women together watching the Lizzie McGuire movie, eating chocolate raisinets and dark chocolate raisinets. Those are the best. And popcorn and pretzels and chocolate covered almonds. Watching the Lizzie McGuire movie. I don't know if I already said that, but that was just such a highlight. Talk about inner child work. I really love Disney Plus. But so across this week, I also started seeing numbers like 333 repeatedly. And it was the three of us. And it was really interesting to watch the energy exchange between Deja, my girlfriend, and Marina, my best friend, because they haven't spent extended time together, but I love both of these individuals very much. And there's enough similarities between them, and like there's ways that they click that I don't click with them. And so seeing this kind of triangular flow of energy and support and confiding in one another was really, really beautiful. So that's happening with the three of us, and 333, I'm seeing it everywhere. There's just a bunch of things about triangles, right? And then I'm in this class for my graduate school program. I'm just going to say program. Saying graduate school program sounded really silly. I'm in this class called Theories, where we learn all about the different theories within marriage and family therapy. And the first theory we're learning about is transgenerational therapy. And one of the fathers of this, if you will, is Bowen. And Bowen has this belief around triangulation that it's much easier for two people when they have an issue to bring in a third person and triangulate instead of just talking to the partner who they really have an issue with, right? So this can look like there's a guy in the friend group, and the guy and one girl are dating, but the guy and the other girl are friends. Everyone's friends, right? And now the two that are dating have a problem with one another, but instead of actually discussing it with one another, maybe the boyfriend uses the girl in the friend group as a scapegoat. So now he and his partner are discussing her as if she's the problem when really the problem lies between them. This could also look like a couple living together, and maybe one of the partners pets the dog and says things passive aggressively. Oh, daddy doesn't care about us right now. It's fine. We're just going to be over here. Instead of just asking their partner for some affection, they're going to triangulate with the dog in order to bring it in, right? So we see this in relationships frequently. And we also know that a triangle is one of the most stable geometric figures, right? There's many symbolic and spiritual lessons and stories that include the Trinity, or like the Holy Trinity, for example. And so I've got triangulation on my mind. And I had this, what felt like a boot camp and experiencing triangulation. But I want to bring out some of the ways that it can be a really beautiful and useful tool. For example, I was sharing something. As much effort as I put into bettering myself and living a life of wellness, I'm still finding myself experiencing a lot of anxiety. And a lot of that anxiety surrounds being enough and feeling that my role has to be a caretaker in all situations. And that comes from a lot of different things. That comes from some childhood, like growing up very quickly and being very mature for my age, but then assuming a caretaking role of one or both parents' emotions. I think that's very common in divorce. Often the parents will have an issue, so the parents start to get divorced, and then the child is symptomatic. So then one parent talks to the other parent about the child in order to band together towards a common goal, right? In fact, sometimes children will even manifest symptoms as a way to garner that attention and that connection back with both parents. So triangulation is everywhere, right? And those are some negative examples. But the way I experienced it this weekend was with regard to emotional intimacy and sharing. And so I've been friends with Marina for, I feel like 7 years now. It's nuts to think that we've been friends for almost a decade. That is my girl. I love that woman. Versus Deja, who I've been dating since February and who I love and I trust. And it's still new. So we were discussing my anxiety, and we're all being really good to one another across these 5 days of sharing and listening and holding space and offering advice, which is one of the things I appreciated most, was sitting down at the end of the day and discussing something with both of them. It was really cool. And so I'm talking about anxiety, and I notice I'm telling this story basically to Marina, and we're all sitting on the couch kind of in a circle. And Deja's right next to me, and I'll look over there a little bit to make eye contact with her and make sure that she still feels included, and that I'm, obviously I want to share this information with her because I'm right next to her. If I didn't, I wouldn't be sharing it. And it's kind of scary when it's someone new. And so I noticed I was directing my body language and my verbal communication towards Marina and checking in with Deja every once in a while. And they both offered me great feedback. I think Marina gave me a lot, given she has more context. But the experience of sharing on an emotionally vulnerable or deep level was beautiful, in that I was supported by one figure and able to also allow this other figure in that otherwise might have felt like a lot. If I were to dump all of my caretaking wounds and traumatic experiences in relationship to caretaking, and why that I've identified with that so much, and I think that my worth is tied to that, just in conversation with Deja, that would feel like a lot. But because it was all of us, it felt a lot more doable. And so that's such a testament of why therapy is so freaking effective. Whether you're a couple, whether it's colleagues, the same way. Another example of triangulation is you're upset with your boss, but you go to talk to your coworker about it. So we see triangulation all over the place. And I encourage you to look for it in your life and identify maybe some of the ways that it's positive and some of the ways that it's not so positive, and that might be worth releasing. So then the second example is probably 20 minutes after that triangulation experience. We're sitting at the counter, and Deja drops a big bomb about her history that isn't bad by any means, but it was wow, that was a big share. As we're eating leftovers out of the styrofoam box, and all three of us are standing at my kitchen island. Well, Deja and I were sitting, and then Marina was standing kind of behind Deja. And so it was interesting that Deja shared this without even really seeing Marina, but knowing that she was there and trusting her presence. And Marina made a joke. She was like, am I just going to stand here while that bomb just dropped? And all of us were laughing. But it was obviously Deja wanted to share that with me, but it was made so much easier because of Marina's presence. And so I just think it's really beautiful, and I wanted to share the strength in community and support. I've talked about it on previous episodes in terms of monogamy has this myth around it, I believe, especially in the United States, that like you can't have any other friends, or that monogamy implies a monopolization of your time that you now owe to your partner. And I just don't agree with that. I don't agree with it at all. And I think after spending 5 days as a trio and supporting one another and bouncing ideas off of one another, I don't even want to live alone anymore. I'm like, can I get a warehouse and outfit it so there's like 6 apartments and we can all live in a little community and have group dinners? Oh, and friends, let me tell you, we had a pizza party. We cooked so much. I was cooking and dancing, and then at the end of the night, we had a little celebration for my friend Milad. It was his birthday, but he doesn't want to be celebrated, so it was not a celebration for his birthday. But my sister came over, and her man came over, Jason. This other guy came over, and Marina and Deja and I were there, and there's like all these people huddled around the island. People are making martinis and salads and pizza dough, and it was great. And I was so tired afterward. I said, like, forget it. I'm leaving it. I'm just leaving the mess. I'm so exhausted. We'd been cooking for like 5 hours right in front of the oven. So I was getting the heat of the pizza, and made a big pasta alla norma, which is like an eggplant Sicilian style pasta dish. We put, oh my gosh, y'all, we put that on a pizza. My mouth is literally watering. You're welcome. Aceitun, I can't, what's the word? Olive, that eggplant sauce, Calabrian chilies on it. Oh my gosh, fresh mozz, just divine. And then we did a fig and brie pizza with a little tossed arugula that had lemon and oil. Finish that baby with a little parm. Divine. The point of telling you all this is that I was really into the food, but I was freaking exhausted afterward. And so I took off my apron, real dramatic, and I was like, I'm done. I'm leaving the mess, whatever. And I went upstairs and I started washing my face, and like magic, my community took care of me and cleaned my kitchen. And I'm not saying that that wouldn't have happened had I not physically left the scene. But it was challenging for me to stop there. And that's the first time I've ever done it. But it was such a true demonstration of like, closed mouth, don't get fed. And so I spoke my truth, and I was willing to deal with the consequences, but like, that's how I felt. And I didn't feel the need to be perceived as the perfect host anymore. I was happy to be the fuck it host who just fed you the delicious food and gave you good wine and quit. But then they took over, and they really took care of me, and that was super beautiful. And to come down the next morning to Marina putting away some dishes, she brought me coffee in the morning. It was just like so nice. And so I just want to let you know that there are communities out there where reciprocity exists. And if you're in a community where you don't feel reciprocity, before just saying fuck it and leaving, I invite you to look at how you are asking your community to show up. Because the people pleaser who does everything is not it's not asking for anything. You're too busy controlling the situation in order to have room for anyone to come in. So I'll leave that episode here. Close mouth, don't get fed. Look for triangles. Trinity 333. I love you. Welcome back to the podcast. We're going to get into a lot of psychoeducation this season. I hope you all enjoy me sharing the learnings from my class. Part of why I began creating content, and the podcast in particular, was to share education and information that is gatekept, that I feel like could really help people. So let me know what you think about triangles, y'all. We'll talk real soon. Besos.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you or your company are looking to jump into the podcast world, now is the time. The Plug Agency is here to connect you to the full power of podcasting. You just record and leave the rest to us. The people are listening and want to hear from you. Theplug-agency.com. That's theplug-agency.com. Click the link in the episode description for an exclusive offer.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.